The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Cultural Pittsfield radio show. We're so happy to be on WTBR 89.7 FM. My name is Jen Glockner. I'm the director of the Office of Cultural Development for the wonderful city of Pittsfield. And this week, we're so happy to have the relatively new executive director from the Berkshire Museum on the program, Kim Bush Tomio. You have been officially in the role for a few months?
Well, I started at the end of August.
Feels...
about 6 months.
Yeah, it feels, I had the fall in my head, but time is very strange these days. Yes. Post-COVID, during COVID. I think things happened like 2 years ago and it was 5 years ago. So don't ask me for time relevances at all. So Kim is the executive director at the Berkshire Museum, who is, of course, an amazing cultural partner for the city of Pittsfield. And there's a lot, this is perfect timing to have you on because there's tons happening at the museum kicking off February 4th and beyond.
Yes, we do have a lot of activities that had been set up for the spring and getting ready for our 10 days of play and some other things that have been happening for years. And the first thing that's opening is this weekend on February 4th is the Storyland and the book of the Art of Storytelling, which is a themed group of experiences that will include an incredible art exhibit of over 140 works. Wow. That represent original illustrations of children's books starting from the early part of the 20th century through, our most current century. 21st century, and we have like Beatrix Potter drawings and the drawings for the Dr. Seuss books and all sorts of other things. So Babar Museum of Art.
And you're even incorporating some local authors. Allen Jackson of the Supa Dupa Kid is a part of it. It's called The Art of Storytelling, Celebrating Illustration and Literature, opens February 4th at the Berkshire Museum, goes through April 30th. The thing I love about the Berkshire Museum is if you can't make it to the first weekend or even the second weekend, the exhibits are up for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. So they give you time to go. And if you go and love it, then it gives you time to return and look at it again.
Exactly.
This is a very important thing in the world of families and craziness. Lots of time to view the exhibit. So this beautiful postcard that I received in the mail has the illustrations that Kim is speaking of and a little blurb that says, see original drawings from classic children's stories as well as the work of author Allen Jackson. Experience the wonder of books coming to life and discover the art of storytelling. So the opening day is Saturday, February 4th, starting at 10 a.m., and you can create your own storytelling art. And then there's educator-led arts and crafts activities throughout the exhibit. Of course, all of this stuff that we're going to be talking about is on the Berkshire Museum website, berkshiremuseum.org, berkshiremuseum.org. We are talking to Kim Bush Tomio, who is the executive director of the Berkshire Museum. August, I had fall, which August is early fall, late summer. So it's been, okay, I know Bev fights me. We fight about the weather. We're recording this on February 1st, which is very exciting that we flipped the calendar to February. So let's just say a little celebration about February being here. For sure, we're onward and upward. The days are getting longer. The sun is shining more, hopefully. So we're headed into February with lots happening at the Berkshire Museum. But I think it's awesome, Kim, that you came to Pittsfield and the Berkshires at a great timing. There's a couple of other there's the new artistic director at Barrington Stage Company. There's a new executive director at Hancock Shaker Village. Yeah. So there's some new energy in Pittsfield and the Berkshires, which is awesome. We were talking off air a little bit before we started, that you are exploring the Berkshires and all of the art and culture.
There is so much here. I had absolutely no idea when I applied. I was really more interested in the museum and its very unusual, history. It's collecting strategies. The fact that there's an aquarium at the museum, which is very unusual. All of it just enticed me to start looking around the whole area. And of course, the beauty of the Berkshires is something that you can't escape. It's fantastic. Even when winter started coming on and the trees were losing their leaves and then it was gray, it was so spectacular and dramatic. But as I've had time to get my feet on the ground and start exploring, there are just more things than I imagined in the area. Just the walking trails, the lakes, and then going to Williamstown, to the Clark, to the Williams College Museum. My husband's particularly happy about the pastisserie in Lenox.
Oh, yes.
And so we spent a lot of time going back and
forth. The art of food and drink is also, there's something
nice
to be said for that in the Berkshires, too.
Yes.
And Pittsfield is opening all of these amazing ethnic restaurants. There is now an African restaurant, a Brazilian restaurant, a Latina market and restaurant, Colombian, of course, with La Fogata, and those owners reopened Tito's with a Colombian flair. The ethnicity of the restaurants in Pittsfield alone is mind-blowing if you say it out loud.
Right.
So it's a great tour of the food. We were talking about going around the world in food in Pittsfield and the Berkshires.
Would be a great program for the Berkshire Museum. We could have a day of international food, where people can come in and we invite these restaurants and people to come and pick up food. We've done it before at my previous museum and it was super popular. And we just would take the large space that we have. For us would be the crane room or one of the big empty galleries if we have one, and just have people set up and have, you can go and taste African food or food from the Caribbean or food from somewhere else. So that's something I'm percolating in my head and working with the staff on that idea for a future, like a partnership with the different towns around here and the restaurants and the different ethnic opportunities as far as the food tasting.
Yes,
I think that'd be fun.
It's very just when you say it out loud and talk about it, you're saying, "Wow, there's all this food in Pittsfield and the Berkshires." Yes. And a huge congratulations out to Hot Plate Brewing. That is a new brewing company that is opening in Pittsfield. They are officially opening to the public on February 2nd. So go check them out. By the time this airs, you will be able to go to Hot Plate and check them out. They're right off of North Street on School Street. You enter the building. It's the Enoda building on the side of School Street. And Mike and Sarah have been just working their tails off to make this happen. So we congratulate them for finally being open and be able to serve beers to the public. And they're also going to have ciders, wine, and non-alcoholic options too. So there's something for everyone. It's a great thing. But always, no matter who we're talking to, we start talking about food and drink. No matter what the subject is, because it's almost lunchtime. We record this at 10:30, which isn't really almost lunchtime, but we're always hungry. So we always turn to food, it feels like.
Always.
It's so funny. Once again, this is the Cultural Pittsfield Radio Show. We're so happy to be on WTBR 89.7 FM. We have Bev Prentice operating the board always. Thank you to Bev for that. And Kim Bush Tomio, the new executive director at the Berkshire Museum. She has been here since August, so I will stop saying new. But Kim is here talking all about the Berkshire Museum and the upcoming exhibitions. We at the Office of Cultural Development are always so excited to partner with the Berkshire Museum for the 10 by 10 Upstreet Arts Festival, which is happening February 16th through the 26th. And we, on the next episode coming up in the coming weeks, will get into this deeper about the day-by-day events. But we can talk about the museum is doing the 10 days of play, which is an ongoing exhibit that we are so thankful every year that it happens. That kicks off around the same time. Oh, yes. Good. You have a flyer. I love this. Thank you. February 17th through February 26th, there are amazing daily play areas. The Big Bubble Bonanza with Jeff Boyer. So lots of special events throughout the 10 by 10 Festival. Records and Burpee Zoo Show Wednesday, February 22nd. All of this is also happening during the main exhibition, which is opening February 4th, The Art of Storytelling. So we're so excited always for the Berkshire Museum to partner with us for that 10 days of play. And of course, we'll probably talk more about this as it gets closer. The 10 by 10 Real Art Party happens at the Berkshire Museum as well.
Yes.
And you are also hosting the Berkshire's Jazz Concert. So the museum is a huge collaborator for the 10 by 10 Upstreet Arts Festival, which we're very, very thankful for. And you have a list of other happenings there at the museum?
Well, along with the 10 by 10 Real Art Party, of course, is the great party itself happens February 23rd. And then we will be doing a screening for Oscar-nominated short films and animation at the museum in our little theater. And that's on March 3rd from 7 p.m. to 8:30 and March 4th from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 3:30. And those apparently are very popular. I have not been able to be here for that, but I'm looking forward to that. March 4th, we're having a night out scavenger hunt for adults. It would be really fun.
That is fun. So they used to do that for kids, and then I think the parents were like, hey, why don't you do this for adults? And then you did. I love that. The museum often listens to its members and suggestions. So that one, the scavenger hunt, what night is that?
That is, excuse me, it is March 4th.
And it's adult scavenger hunt.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's geared for adults. It's 5:30 to 7:30. And the tagline is rediscover your childhood wonder in the art of storytelling exhibitions. Enjoy drinks, hors d'oeuvres while exploring the museum on a themed scavenger hunt. So it's really because of the type of refreshments being served. It's really geared for adults.
But it's still kiddies.
It's kind of childlike, yeah.
It's childlike.
And I guess I failed to mention that the Oscar-nominated short films live action is also happening in the Little Theater on March 10th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and March 11th from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Those are very popular. I think I went to one a few years back, and I think they're underrated or not as well known as the Oscar nominations that you know, but when you watch the short films, they're amazing. Wonderful.
Yeah, they're amazing. And I love it that they have these available for the public to see without having to necessarily have to get on like Netflix or something and pay for it.
And pay $10.99 for one short film, which only lasts so much. Yeah, it's definitely a benefit. All of this stuff is happening at the Berkshire Museum. This, of course, the events that we're talking about are on the Berkshire Museum's website, berkshiremuseum.org, berkshiremuseum.org. We are talking to Kim Bush Tomio, the executive director for the Berkshire Museum, about all of the happenings at the Berkshire Museum. You know, there used to be an in-season and a quote-unquote off-season, and there's no longer that in the Berkshires, I feel like, in Pittsfield, because everything is in season. I mean, in the winter, we do the 10 by 10 Upstreet Arts Festival. We have skiing. We have all of the outdoor recreation that you spoke of in the bucolic Berkshires. And then we have all of these things happening at the museum during the winter. This is awesome. There's always something to do.
As I've been telling people, I got here as fast as I could. It's a really wonderful environment, and it's very human based and response based to me to learn about people and the history of this place. It's just incredible.
It is human based. I like that phrase. Where did you move from?
I was working at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco for 10 years. And
she left the warm.
And the earthquake, the threat of earthquakes.
Yeah, that's the part that is good to leave.
It was a great experience. I was living in the city of San Francisco for a few years and eventually moved to the North Bay and bought a house in Vallejo California, which is at the tip of the bay. So there's still ferry service from Vallejo to San Francisco, so I could commute by ferry, but also at the mouth of the Napa Valley.
Oh,
So we were
this all
really
sounds
close to all
lovely.
of that.
Yes.
It's
Again,
very
we're back to
beautiful.
food and wine.
Yeah, of course. It is very beautiful out there. It was really quite stunning. And also Vallejo has a lot of history. It was where Robert Louis Stevenson spent his honeymoon when he married this woman from San Francisco, and then they went up to Mount St. Helens and stayed for a few weeks in an old abandoned silver mine bunker, and he wrote this story called it was about his adventures in the Napa Valley, and he was the first person to write about the viviculture in the U.S. in that area, because he wrote about the wines that he experienced when he was there.
See?
It's just a lot of
Early
history there.
Yes. So you move from West Coast history to Berkshire history, which the Berkshire Museum does such a good job at promoting the local history in the Berkshires, but also bringing in outside history and more education as appropriate as it collaborates appropriately with the local history. So that was a good fit. How has your transition been to the Berkshires?
Well, it's been very, in some ways, frantic, because I jumped in with both feet into the deep end of the pool, and we were already in the midst of a redesign for the aquarium, expanding the current aquarium and bringing it up to the first floor of the building.
Tell us about that. Can you talk about that?
Yes, the aquarium, being a museum with an aquarium is quite unique, and so I've started thinking about the tagline for the museum for getting the news out. It's like the Berkshire Museum and Aquarium, because a lot of people don't know when they come in necessarily that there is an aquarium unless they've done their research online, and they go down to the current aquarium and they think it's like a experience of wonder. It's just so amazing. But the aquarium, the whole history of the aquarium itself is really interesting. It was never part of the mission or the concept of the museum that Zenas Crane had imagined. It happened spontaneously in the 1970s, maybe, or 80s. Somebody on staff had an aquarium in their office, and then they put in another aquarium, and it was close to where the education classes were, and so the children who were coming in to have their on-site program would love these aquariums, and so it just kept expanding. And in fact, I found out they had a live armadillo that used to live near the classroom inside the building. I think her name was Alice, and they would, everyone loved Alice, the armadillo.
Wild.
And anyway, so this aquarium just kept growing, and then one day they just decided to make it a regular destination. And they took some area in the lower level part of the building and had there's stairways that went down, and you could follow these turtles on the floor and get to this space. And they have about maybe they have 30 aquariums right now with a variety of animals.
It's wild. It's so cool.
Yeah.
My kids are now 14, but we used to go there. We'd go there for the feeding of the turtles. You could feed the turtles lettuce. There's snakes. There's fish, really cool fish that are swimming around. I agree that it's kind of a hidden gem of the Berkshire Museum. So you're hoping to move it upstairs?
Yes. We will be removing the current little theater. So if anybody has really sweet thoughts about that theater and its history, continue to keep those to your heart, because it was a wonderful
It served
part of
us
the building.
well.
Yeah.
It served the
but it has
community
over
well.
the years, it would need major renovation to continue using it. And we find that as far as regular movie screenings and other uses, it's just not as much as it used to be in the past. So the aquarium has become a central focus for the immersive experience at the museum.
I'm really surprised, because I thought when everybody mentions the aquarium, it was one great big aquarium.
It's pretty.
It is really small, but it's also, it's broken up into little fish tanks and
yes.
little housing areas
Yeah.
for these amphibians and beyond.
Of course, they wouldn't like being with each other, probably.
I think there's a reason why they have them separated into the different spaces, because of the feeding and care behind the scenes is really specific to those animals. So this concept of the expanded museum aquarium is going to be a central part of the museum's revitalization as far as its facility. There had been a lot of work that was done for them to bring the museum up to a better building. The HVAC system and the security system and the galleries and putting in an elevator, those things. Several years ago, we're now working on the last phase of that ambitious, forward-thinking, project to get the museum stabilized in good shape for the public to enjoy for many more generations. So this aquarium will then be situated where the auditorium is now, which is a much larger space, a big open space.
And it's right there. You walk in and you're going to know it's there instead of going down to the basement and saying, wow, here it is.
Yeah, there'll be 3 different entrances into that space. So it's going to be like, if you're going through the museum on the left, you could pop into the aquarium and pop out on the other side, for instance, into a different gallery. So it's going to be really cool, I think. And it will also have more room in the center so we could have even small lectures or gatherings inside the aquarium. Evening events.
Cool.
We could rent the aquarium for an evening event, for dinner in the aquarium.
They do that at the Boston Aquarium.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's so that concept
That's a pretty amazing aquarium.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing
That concept is awesome. So what is the hopeful timeline of the moving of the aquarium?
We're still working with our designer and our architects on that. We don't have a specific date of when that would, say, be finished and reopened. But what we're planning to do, hopefully, is perhaps start our project like in September, because we're trying not to interfere with the summer camps and the other things that we're doing, and make sure that people in the schools and everyone that uses us for the summer and whatever we've gotten through that, and then hopefully we can keep the museum open. We may have to close a section of it to get started.
Yeah,
but our timeline is pretty much 18 months from there. That is probably what we're looking at. That's our ambitious goal.
So end of 2024, beginning of 2025-ish.
Yeah. Hopefully not much longer than that.
That's awesome.
So that'll be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good...
I'm calling it the jewel in the crown because it is the way the design is unfolding. It looks almost like a jewelry box. It's a beautiful, darkened, immersive experience with glowing, larger fish tanks. And we're thinking of even putting like some live video cam on some of the fish tanks and doing that on our website. Yeah. Recently, our seahorses produced a lot of babies. Yes,
that's
and so
very
it
exciting and would be fun to see.
Cool to have, knowing that they're about to be born, to have it maybe a live feed or something. So there's a lot of ideas our aquarium staff and our education staff are thinking of.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Once again, this is the Cultural Pittsfield Radio Show. We're so happy to be on WTBR 89.7 FM. My name is Jen Glockner. I'm the director of the Office of Cultural Development for the City of Pittsfield. We have Kim Bush Tomio on the program this week, the executive director of the Berkshire Museum, and we were just chatting about the renovations and the moving of the aquarium at the Berkshire Museum to a 18-month to 2-year process once it begins, so a couple years away from now. But the vision and the idea is very exciting.
Yes. It's going to be really good.
Yay. And I do believe that the aquarium is one of the coolest things in the museum. And people don't know about it. Some people don't know about it until you get there and go downstairs. So lots happening at the Berkshire Museum always. The Art of Storytelling is opening on February 4th and going through April 30th. The opening day is Saturday, February 4th. But again, we appreciate the museum because it keeps exhibits up for a few months. So if you can't see it right away, you can see it throughout the months until April 30th. What is the Save the Date, Saturday, March 4th, a special night out at the museum event?
That's that would be the scavenger hunt, I believe.
Ooh, yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, that is for mostly adults. It's geared for adults with the hors d'oeuvres and drinks.
We were talking
darken this gallery, and you get flashlights.
We were talking about the flashlight scavenger hunt. So it started, I remember my kids were interested in it years ago. And adults, I think there were adults that said, wow, this sounds really cool.
They loved it.
It's
yes,
actually
they loved
safer
it.
for adults, let's just say. Some of the kids than the flashlights. We don't want to be in charge of where you're going. So adults feels like it might be a safer adult themed event. So this March 4th event is an adult scavenger hunt with flashlights, part of the Art of Storytelling exhibit, which is up through April 30th. And I love the Art of Storytelling. It's celebrating illustration and literature, childhood classics, 100 years of original illustration, featuring Beatrix Potter, which of course we know that's very famous, but also the local author Ty Allen Jackson is featured. Storyland, a trip through childhood favorites. So a lot of nostalgia walking through this exhibit for sure.
It is really a good exhibit for both adults and children. And then accompanying the illustrations, the artwork itself, that exhibition will be some reading nooks that are in the exhibition itself, so that parents and their children or caretakers and the children they're with can sit down pick out a book and just have a little readout, together.
Oh, that's lovely.
On bean bags or chairs or other things. And then adjacent to that gallery would be an interactive exhibition that we've borrowed to highlight just the literacy that the.
I'm sorry, that's my phone. It won't stop. I
you know
can't
what
make
that is?
stop.
It's announcing Tom Brady's retirement again.
Are you kidding?
I know.
Tom
For
Brady's
good, he
retiring.
says.
Oh, my
For good.
gosh.
He's retired for good, quote unquote.
that
was at ESPN, I think, or some
That's
sports
NFL.
related. Oh, NFL. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can't make it stop.
My son, my 14-year-old son's phone does that, Bev.
Does it really?
Yeah, so you're comparing your phone noises are the same as a 14-year-old boy.
Does he try to stop it?
Well, I think he knows how to turn off the notifications. Would you like me to bring him in here and show you
actually
how to
do
turn
need younger people to
turn off?
I would like to know
Yeah,
how to.
I will help you when we're done with this. So Tom Brady is officially retired. We got that notification earlier, and that must be related to that.
Are you going to watch that movie 80 for Brady?
yeah, sure.
I can't wait to see that.
I mean, I love Sally Field, and
I think that they're a great group.
It's going to be.
just- it
How
sounds-
can that movie not be?
and
fun?
he's in it.
Yeah, and he's in it, and Rob Gronkowski is in it, and Guy Fieri, the chef, is in it, and so I think it's going to just be fun.
I think it's going to be really fun.
We will definitely watch it. Lots of fun.
Should I talk about a Storyland, a trip through childhood favorites, which is a three-dimensional component?
Oh, sure.
Okay, all right. So, in addition to the beautiful illustrations, almost 150 illustrated works by various artists who worked with stories like Babar and Madeline and all of these other authors. There's also something called Storyland: A Trip Through Childhood Favorites, and it actually takes picture book illustrations and they turned them into three-dimensional play and learning environments. This is a traveling exhibition we found when we were looking at this other exhibition and thought it'd be a great component.
Very cool.
It highlights the 6 major literacy and development areas as defined by the Public Library Association and Association for Library Services for Children, and which is print motivation, print awareness, letter knowledge, sound awareness, so it does have sounds in it that they can choose, vocabulary, and narrative skills and comprehension. And so this is something that kids can do by themselves, but also parents are expected to participate in some of the activities with the kids.
Yeah, that's
And
very
it's
interactive.
really-
So it's an interactive component to the Art of Storytelling exhibit.
And it can be very young children. Excuse me. It could be very young children, like 1 years of age or whatever, up through older kids. But it's just a great way to support children's literacy development through practical suggestions and increases awareness for opportunities for early literacy learning. And it also encourages adults and children to spend time together exploring
That's
books.
exciting. The
Yeah.
interactive component is always a good one to add to any exhibition that you're doing. So the Art of Storytelling is opening February 4th, and it will run through April 30th at the Berkshire Museum. This is one of many, many events happening at the Berkshire Museum, including 10 by 10 events that we will talk about in upcoming programs. That is the February 16th through the 26th. February 16th through the 26th. We'll talk a lot about that in upcoming programs. We are so happy. We had Kim Bush Tomio on the program, the executive director of the Berkshire Museum. It was lovely talking to you.
Oh, so nice to meet you.
Yes.
Bev, thank you so much.
And welcome, and we're happy you're here, and we'll continue exploring the Berkshire Museum and beyond in the coming months. We're going to get off the air and help Bev with her notifications on her phone. Bev, thanks always for running the board. Have a good week, everyone.